All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's put the spotlight then on Capital XP, because close on the heels of a concluded seed funding round, trade finance fintech Capital XP shares its perspective on the country's trading ecosystem, financing challenges that importers and exporters are facing. And this is, remember, happening at a time when the world is going through flux, and of course there are geopolitical headwinds that have made trade difficult for exporters. And in fact, we are also going to be speaking to Capital XP about the view that they have for startups, the startups' next capital fundraise. In fact, we're now joined by Executive Director Ajitabh Bharti of the company of Capital XP. Thank you very much, Mr. Bharti, for taking the time out and speaking to us here on ET Now. Your startup is particularly very interesting given the kind of times that we're currently in. We're facing trade disruptions, and of course, on the back of that, give us an insight into the opportunity that the MSME industry provides to fintech like yours to offer trade financing solutions, given the fact that it's MSMEs which have been impacted the most as a result of these geopolitical disruptions, and most importantly, the trade war, the trade imbalance or the trade tensions that are currently ensuing between India and the United States.
So, MSME exporters in India face a persistent problem around the liquidity, and they are bogged down by various, I would say, documentation-heavy processes of the existing, I would say, banking system. So this creates a lot of friction for them when they are in the real need of liquidity. And this liquidity region can come out for any reasons whatsoever. Anything can, either there is a change in philosophy of just in time to just in case, or some geopolitical issues like Houthi attacks, which is leading to a higher working capital cycle. So it can happen for any region whatsoever. The regions can be different at any point of time. But what is constant is the great irritation which they face when they're looking for liquidity. And that is the place where NBFCs and fintech players like us come in, where we understand the real pain of the MSMEs, and then we try to solve them. We understand with them. We try to solve them as we go along. Yeah.
Absolutely, Mr. Bharti. But if we see the current practices in trade financing, what are the gaps and shortcomings that Capital XP has observed, and how do you plan to address this for the industry?
So, most of the MSMEs are the one who have not been approached by the banking sector. So I think first problem is of reach, how MSMEs and the banking sector can find each other. That is the first gap. The second gap is obviously the documentation, and then eligibility criteria also comes in. Most of the time, banking sector can only offer secured credit to them, which is obviously in short supply because these MSMEs are hungry for capital. They are the real employment generators of the country, but they have limited amount of collateral to part with, and that kind of put them in a big constraint. And finally, I think KYC is another big issue, which is also creating a lot of problem. So across all the three key points, reaching out, being a documentation heavy, and the KYC, and credit goes along with it. So these are the current practices which are prevalent in the current banking sector, and our approach is mostly two things. One is we understand, or we have an empathetic understanding of the credit of MSMEs, and we also use tech to the maximum extent so that we can make their lives better and our lives easier.
Yes, in fact, Mr. Bharti, now factoring has been time-tested. That's been a time-tested tool for addressing funding gaps in international trade. But what's the role of technology in optimizing processes and helping quicken cash flow in the trading ecosystem?
So factoring by definition and by design is a very, very documentation-heavy process. It is good in the sense that it doesn't require the credit profile of the exporter or the seller to be looked into great detail. But because of this, this also brings in issues around checking the veracity of the invoices, checking whether the cash flows, where they are coming from, where they're going to, and also making sure that the buyer on whom the NBFC is going to take risk or the fintechs are going to take risk on, those buyers who are making the payment, they are also aware that these funds needs to go to a different account. So, so technology is going to help us in all the three issues. We are using tech to find out whether these particular invoices are genuine or not. We are using the GST's IRN for that. Then we are making sure that these credit understanding, credit underwriting is done on a very fast basis, taking all the fast flowing data, which is primarily around GST, CIBIL scores, and all. And finally, we are also using tech to do a credit monitoring of these exporters or sellers. And finally, when we have done the disbursements, tech helps us to do the constant monitoring post disbursement. So that is another key factor in mitigation of risks.
Right, Mr. Bharti, but do tell us about your recent fundraise and your future fundraising plans that you have for the company. Like I said, that your company is a very interesting one, and especially more so in the current times that we're living in.
So our funding has come from a very patient capital, two sources of one equity and another debt. The equity piece has come from an offshore investor who is focused on in the European middle and small market space. In that sense, the investor understands this how the sector works, how the sector behaves. At the same time, the same goes for the domestic entity which has given us the debt funding. So both the entities understand what it is to work in a MSME segment. While it is a very high yielding segment, there are risks around it, and they also understand the potential around this. As far as the next round of funding is concerned, our next plan is to approach, try to approach, I would say, institutional investors. Based on our discussions till now, we understand that these investors are very excited about supporting India's export journey, which government has put a target of almost doubling it to $2 trillion in next 5 to 7 years. So they're very excited to be part of that. And we are also partnering with a lot of such institutional investors.
Absolutely. One final question, I believe, Mr. Bharti, before we let you go. I want to understand, given the fact that AI is making rapid strides, is of course disrupting industries and changing industries and the very nature of those industries. But what role do you see AI playing as far as trade financing is concerned?
So AI is, I think, historically, if you see that machine learning was used for generating insights, training the data model and all. What AI does is that it adds a layer of, I would say, human thought process to whatever we have been doing up till now. In that sense, AI is kind of making lives of fintechs much easier. It is very easy to kind of parse the document, make sure that we extract the right set of insights into it. We have started using AI in various stages, be it initial filtering of the client's profile, client's credit, or the constant monitoring, or even parsing the documents so that we can make the documents easier, KYC data. So all in all, I think AI is we are as we grow, we are seeing more and more test cases of using AI. And maybe in the next round, we are also looking at using AI for our customer calling, as well as doing promoter calls, which are integral part of our credit discussions.
Right. A final question before Mr. Bharti, before we let you go. How are you and the broader fintech ecosystem collaborating with regulators to develop rules and best practices for the industry? Give us an insight into that as well.
So we are in active discussion with the regulators like RBI. We are also working with SROs like FIDC. We are working with likes of DGFT. The one thing which I have found is that regulators now are very, very keenly aware of problems faced by the MSME industry, and they're also aware what the recent developments happening across the whole segment worldwide. So from my experience, it appears that they are very, very open, and that shows in say the license which you have got, correct? So ADCAT 3 licenses where it has not been granted in the last 10 odd years, 25 odd years. So the regulator has been pretty, I would say, open in understanding the requirements, and they are happy to support fintechs like ours. We are looking to address these gaps. Same goes for, I will say, DGFT and the likes of Ministry of Commerce. They are pretty open to our suggestions. They are working, and we are working with them on how to digitize the export segment. As of now, exports is very, very heavily paper-based, and then we are working with them around how we can implement MLTR or other such initiatives, which has become pretty standard across maybe Singapore, UK, and all. And we are hopeful that within a short period of time, we will start seeing this impact on a ground level. Yeah.
All right, Mr. Bharti, thank you for taking the time out and speaking to us here on ET Now on the fundraise and how AI is going to disrupt this entire, trade financing sector, and of course on your new $15 million seed funding round, and of course the kind of deployment that fundraise is going to see. Thank you very much for taking the time out and speaking to us here on ET Now. Ladies and gentlemen, time for us also to slip into a very short commercial break, but lots more coming up, including an exclusive chat with the IT Madras Incubation Cell head honcho. That and more is coming up right after this short break.